Hi, welcome to another new video. So in today's video, I'm going to do a sketchbook tour and also a review of this watercolorist artist watercolor paper series 1 sketchbook. Alright, so this book is made in Singapore, or I bought it from this place called www.kck.sg. The series is called Dreams. Right? It says, behind every masterpiece is a story, and behind every captured story, there is a dream. Wow! So this book is A5L, so it means A5 size but landscape form. 20 pages, 300 GSM. This paper is 25% cotton, acid-free cold press. It says here paper is made in Italy with 25% cotton, natural color and texture. So when I asked the company, hey, where is this paper from? Made in Italy, right? He said, oh yeah, it's from a paper mill manufacturer that has been around for a long time, since 1245. And I was like, there's not a lot of 1245 manufacturers. So I asked if it's Fabriano and they said, They didn't confirm with me whether it's Fabriano, but I'm not sure if it is. Yeah, I didn't buy their studio sketchbook to try. So maybe that's something that I will do in the future, like I'll buy the Fabriano Studio sketchbook and just to see if it gives the same effect. But anyway, if you'd like to see more, I would actually link the shop below and then you can go see what other papers or what other sketchbooks they have. So this one here is $4. I think it's kind of cheap, like it's kind of good value. Yeah, for a sketchbook, and paper is actually not so bad. So I'll give you a review at the end. So now let's start the tour of the sketchbook. Okay. So for the sketchbook, right, I dedicated this whole sketchbook for the World Watercolour Month for July 2021. So the first 2 pages were, prompts given by someone I know on Instagram, like a friend follower on Instagram, and she had like the ice cream, seller and ice cream prompts. And then this one I did like a urban sketch. So I went to this shop so it's called Sophie Cafe and Pizza, and I think when I close the book, right, you see these dirts, like these transfer from the other side, so that if you, I think because it's so textured, the paper the color just transferred really very easily. So later on from the other page, you actually see this more prominently. So yeah, so if you are worried, right, you may want to put a piece of like paper in between, so that it doesn't do that. And regarding colors, I would say it kind of dulls color a little bit, so it doesn't, the color doesn't appear very vibrant on this paper. Next, for day 4, day 5. Day 4, I did like a sketch of a croissant, and this is like a watercolor, just a pure watercolor. Yeah, so far I think these are actually quite nice. Like the hard edges, I guess you have to work with it. Some people don't like this, but I'm actually quite fine. So if you are like the kind like can't stand hard edges and you can't stand all these blooms, then this paper has a tendency to do so. Next one is actually a See the Line Italy, which I did. This is a challenge on Instagram. So this was ink and wash, and this was also, I think it's more wash. This one is also from See the Lines, but it's London. It's a street scene where I actually did wash first and then did the line later. So this is actually okay, I guess. I quite like these hard edges, right? Some people wouldn't like it, but I personally quite like it. So can you see that when I use gouache on this side, it actually transfer over to here? So I'm not sure if this is a gouache thing or this is because the surface is so rough. It doesn't stick so well that it goes over to the other side. I don't think I've seen this in any of my other sketchbooks. So this is something that you may want to take note of. This shop here, this is a shopfront, storefront Japan drawing prompt, okay, of this shop. Then for the next day, I did this, this is gouache, pure gouache. So can you see like all these texture? So if you don't really like to see the texture, this book is not for you. Yeah, and the color went over to the other side. So this is actually also a challenge by a good friend of mine, Leaf Bear, and this is of Tai O in Hong Kong. So for the next 3 days, I actually did 3 different versions of the same photographs. It's the ink and wash version. So this is ink, and then I wash it watercolor. And then I also did the watercolor version where there's no ink, so it's purely watercolor. So can you see it transferring over? And this one as well, like it's all just transferring over, like what? So this part I'm not very pleased with it. And this is the gouache version. So the gouache version, well, it's just gouache, and of course you can see the texture here. So I don't know, it's not just watercolor, like gouache going over to the watercolor, it's also the watercolor going over to the gouache. So perhaps for this paper I would suggest not using two sides, probably just using one side of it, so that you don't get this problem. And then the next 2 days I did the same scene as well, and it was watercolor version, it was this gouache version. So this was shared also by a good friend on Instagram. She took this photograph at the National Gallery of Singapore. Right, then I did a rose for no reason, okay. This was like a mixed media, like watercolor, it has gouache, it has color pencils, everything in there. Next I worked on this room portrait club, and this is really fun where someone actually share, it's also an account on Instagram, someone actually share a photograph of a room, and you have different people drawing this same photograph, and everybody adds weird stuff to it. So this one I didn't, I just painted. I painted with 3 colors, which I thought doesn't look too bad, alright. I actually have a shorts, and you can actually find it I will link it somewhere. This is this is just pure watercolor, and I use colors that I can't seem to finish. So these are the colors that I have forever and I can't finish them. So I thought, why not just throw them into one painting and see if I was able to produce anything. And then, yeah, I managed to make something out of it, which is pretty good. I think I did the gouache and the watercolor online live streaming when I did. This is the watercolor version, it's the gouache version, and the ink and wash version. I think it's fun to actually try out like a few different techniques to see you know, how they differ. And to me, I think they all have their own good and bad points, okay. Then the next, after this series, I did the same thing with my favorite plant. So this is my favorite plant, is definitely erecta. Right, so this is the ink and wash version, and then I have a watercolor version and a gouache version. Then for the day 24, I did a cafe. This is shared by a follower, a friend. I did this actually during one of the live stream, and I had some trouble here, but somehow it kind of worked. Yeah, okay. Then this is what I mean, right? So the same thing. So when I had, can you see, like I did another room portrait, and this time that color from the other side came over and actually made this mess over here. So yeah, this is something that I didn't really like. Yeah, but this is really fun. This one is a portrait. I forgot which week it is, but it's really fun because I added an ice kacang and a portrait for someone on that I know. This is another version where I did the ink and wash versus gouache of a single picture, and decided to do a day and a night. So for the day I added the birds flying, and then for the night I had a moon and the reflection. This is with wash, and this is with yeah, ink and wash. Yeah, okay. So you can actually see all these texture. So you know, if you are using wash on this is something that you notice. Next I did plant portrait for a friend. So a friend actually he actually posed his plant after he saw my plant, and I thought, you know, yeah, can I do a plant portrait for you? And he said, yeah, okay, sure. So I did this one. So this was actually watercolor, pure watercolor, but I did use a little bit of gouache and a gel pen here and there. Then this one is another room portrait. This was with the Holbein color. So I think for the room portraits, I actually used the Holbein cakes, and I quite like the colors. And this one, you see how much colors I've used. It's really quite interesting, quite fun, relaxing way to enjoy painting without thinking so much about mixing colors and everything, because you could just use all the colors on your palette, and you just have fun and paint them. So I added my dogs. I'm so sorry. I made them look so ugly. And then that's for the last two. I also did a room portrait club, and I actually also used the whole beam colors. And yeah, you can see how colorful the paintings were. And it was really quite relaxing because I didn't have to think about mixing colors. I just take the color whenever I want, whatever I want, and just put it in there. So yeah, that concludes the sketchbook tour. If you are the kind who likes your book to look nice and flat, right, this is not a book for you, because it does not. After using them like on both sides, I can't really close it properly, right, and it kind of look warpish. Doesn't seem so, but it looks a little bit like bloated and warpish. You may want to put something over to like just secure it so that it becomes more flat. According to the company that makes this sketchbook, is that you can actually use this part and this part as well, so which was what I did. Right, this is what I did. So you could actually use this part as well, because they actually printed on the same paper, so the cover and the interior is the same. So let's start with the paper review, right? Right, so I did this quite a while ago. This was done like probably before I did the watercolor, how to test your watercolor paper video. For this paper, it does not do very well with the ink when you use thick nib, and when you drag the pen across paper really slowly, because you can see the feathering, especially when you do like a low angle and with a lot of nib onto that paper. That is more apparent when you do the ink overwash, right? So yeah, possible to use pen, but try not to use thick nibs. Try not to use inks that is too runny, right? Okay, stain wise, so it's possible to actually do soft edges, but when it's still wet. When it's dry, no, you get hard edges, no way you can scrub it out. When for the scrubbing test, I think it fared okay. Like the surface did come off a bit, but I think I can accept this kind of effect. Glazing is actually alright. I think the glazing is probably okay. Okay, wet on wet, as you can see, right, it doesn't take a lot of water. Even though it's 300 GSM, there's some warping, right? And if you look at it, this is a cold press. This is the texture, so there is some regularity, I would say, in the texture. It looks kind of rough, kind of regular. So if you don't really like this kind of texture, you don't like to see texture like this, or if let's say you're using things like gouache and you like an entirely nice surface that's flat and muted, then don't get this, because this one has a texture. It's a cold press. Okay, it works okay with all my watercolor, and I think with the ink, it's also alright. Could see the different colors, except I guess the sheen doesn't come out very well. Yeah, other than that, it's fine. So this paper, I think it's good for practice. Yeah, so which is what I'm using. I'm using this for my watercolor month sketches, which is really just for me like a practice, like I do drawing every day. Alright, so that ends the review. But for $4, I think it's reasonable. It's okay. It's like, I would think it's something like a Canson XL watercolor sketchbook, but at a lower price. Thank you so much for watching this review. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like to see similar content, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.